Welcome to Black, Red, and Blue. I'm host AJ, and joining me today is Steve. We're going to bring you some good opinions from this last game, unlike most of the City play, which I don't think we were super fans of, except for some players. I think Yara did great, but we'll get into that.
Oh, man of the match. All right, so, as AJ said, we are the BRB Fancast, and if you've ever listened to our podcast and you're like, man, I like to talk, I like soccer, I like recording myself, you know what? You're just a person we need. Come on over. Let's sit down. You can sit down right here if you want. I don't care. Just let us know, and we want to have you on too, because we want to be able to have this be a discussion for the fans, and we don't try to get too analytical because that's weird. We just want to vibe, vamp, if you will. And if you are one of the other podcasters of City and you've heard our little thing here and you're like, I like those guys, or you want us to come see you, hit us up too, and we'll be more than happy to jam. We'll get a little different perspective on your stuff there. So, basically anywhere you want to find us, you just can search up BRB Fancast, and that's how you can find us, except Apple Podcasts. Thanks, Apple. That way you just have to search up Black, Red, Blue Fancast, and you'll be able to get a hold of us there. But like anywhere else, you should be able to find us. Spotify, Twitter, Reddit, we're on there as well, doing our thing. I'm the fridge guy. AJ does the awesome with wallpapers each month. So like we're always there, and we'll see you, and shout us out if you want. But yeah. So if you want to come hang, let's come join us over here. It's warm over here. It's comfy.
So this is actually going to be a pretty fun podcast. I think there's some big topics to hit. I think the Chicho red card and then the handball is going to be a huge thing to talk about. Interesting, I think, especially anytime there's a loss, every single fan, what's the number one thing that they're going to talk about? What they would do if they were the manager.
Right.
So we have some thoughts, and we have our lineup as well. And then we have some final thoughts that actually include the U.S. and Mexico game, which was a pretty fun game, to be honest, especially when you win.
Yeah, it did help out.
Indeed. So, Steve, what was your just overall general thoughts about this game? Like, what did you think when you walked away from this?
Well, so throughout the game, so one thing that I thought about was watching a lot of the games last year. I had a feeling that, I think in St. Louis, I don't know in other fandoms, but like in St. Louis, we always seem to be waiting for the other shoe to drop. And it's like, yeah, we're doing good now, but bleh. And last year I felt a lot of the games where we were lucky if we got out there with a win. And it was like, yeah, well, I guess we got this one, or we got a draw. But like throughout the first 4 games this year, I really honestly felt like we had a chance to win every single one of them. And throughout the first half of yesterday's game against RSL, I kind of felt that way. I was lucky enough to watch this match with my daughter. She's a 9-year-old. She plays soccer. She actually plays with City. Oh, remind me, I got a cool little thing about Indy you can ask me about later. It's really neat. And she just loves soccer. And so we watched Indy shoot that laser within like the first 2 minutes of the game. And then like, you can really see these two teams are evenly matched. And they really looked like the same team going back and forth. And that press was wild on both sides. And they had shots. We had shots. I was looking and like, they were doing so much better on passing, but our defense was just eating them up. Yarrow and Parker were just stopping everything. Berkey was doing his thing. But then the second half, that was like the tale of two halves where it just, I stopped feeling that invulnerability, where it's like as time crept on, you're like, they're going to score. They're going to score. You could just see the defense starting to open up a little more. And then when Chicho hit that banger, that line spot banger, just turned and shot. It wasn't a dagger because it was like, it's only 60 minutes in. We could probably get out with a draw. But then the thought in my head was, oh, Christ, not another draw. Are we ever going to win again? And it's like, took care of that a few minutes later. But
I bet you wish you had the draw now, don't you?
Oh, man. Draw would be, well, I don't know, man. See, how much better would it, I mean, it's 1 point, But so we would be one spot higher on the table, and we'd still be under that playoff line, which is not a big deal at this point in the season. But it's like at least maybe the loss can kick us in the teeth a little bit. You know, maybe that loss can actually inspire something, because Klaus looked pretty good. I know some people probably won't think that way, but like that run he had from pretty much Berkey all the way down to the other goal box was just, you thought he was going to get caught, but he just kept running, and he was so fast, and it looked good. Mechanic was weird, but like you couldn't really bitch about him, because like he blocked some shots, he had some decent shots, and
he also lost some too, though.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's just, even my daughter was like, he's not so great. I'm like, I know, but she saw it, but what are you gonna do right now? But I don't know. I felt okay. Even with the way it ended, I still felt okay. When our goalie approaches the most hated man in St. Louis right now and offers him his jersey, like, that's still a pretty cool thing. Like, they're okay with it. So what are we gonna do? Burn the man in effigy at this point? So
I think this might be my fault, right? So last episode we talked about our lineup. I'm going to own this. Just bear with me.
See, I wasn't going to bring it up. I have it written down, but I wasn't.
No, thanks, Steve. Yeah, so I basically gave my ideal line. And guess what? Cardinal actually listened to me. Can you believe this?
Yeah.
Like,
he's a listener.
coach,
he's a fan.
Yeah, like he's a fan of the podcast. I'm sure he's subscribed, which I recommend all you guys doing, by the way. But
like
yeah, basically, yeah, exactly. So he basically ran out there with the 4-2-3-1, kind of like putting Klaus on top, and then it looked almost perfectly identical. And I was excited. I was like, I'm going to show all the listeners that I know what I'm talking about. And of course, we lost 3-1, but that's a different story. But man, the one thing I was disappointed with, though, is the midfield. It just felt like we didn't have any control. You were so right. Yarrow, Parker. Oh, I love that pairing, by the way. Mechanic, when he first came to the team, I was really excited, and then just kind of faded. Totland, I'm still very excited. Durkin, I'm still actually very optimistic with him. Blown was actually kind of a disappointment to me. I didn't feel like he had much control out there. He didn't really contribute. There wasn't, to me, much build-up from him.
Yeah, he was late to the shot. That's the shot that first goal by Chicho. Like, he showed up as Chicho was getting ready to shoot it. So like that was his assignment, clearly, and he missed that. Basically, the best thing that Bloom did last night was get like ran over by Berkey. He looked like he was dead. Well, when Berkey fell on him, I saw
exactly
like his eyes. He had his whole weight on his chest, and I was like, oh my God, I think Bloom died. Like, Bloom had that dead behind the eye look. Oh Jesus, I think he was back on. But whatever.
So you actually brought up Chicho a minute ago and the red card, right? Like, this is going to be probably the hottest topic we could talk about. Now, interestingly, we were talking pre-production about where we stood on this. Where do you stand on this, Steve?
Okay. I don't think it was a red card. Whenever I initially saw it, yeah. Well, that's fine. Whenever I initially saw it, we saw the play, and I looked at my daughter and I said, "What just happened?" And like, it was so fast and when the announcers stated that it looked like he had been hit, I thought that's a hit. And then we saw the other side, and it's like, okay. So you do think it should have been a red card?
Yeah. So recap, in case somebody did not see some of the Twitter videos, which I suggest you guys do. So what you don't see, at least on the initial broadcast, is you do see Chicho kind of swipe at Totland with his hand, almost kind of a slapping motion. It wasn't quite a punch, but still his fist was closed. And then, of course, Totland fell down. And then you saw Chicho. Yeah. And then Chicho's like over there haunting him, not just once, but there was like 2 seconds to it.
Like he was like wagging his damn finger at us.
Yeah, and then kind of pushes down at him, and that was the whole collection of the thing. Now, Steve was telling me earlier that he doesn't think it should be a red card. I think it should, because the definition of red card, right, is basically for any kind of serious foul, violent conduct, spitting, but also more, right? Like it could also include abusive language or gestures, excessive force, like we kind of mentioned, stuff like that. So it's also misconduct, not just a punch or the cleats to the face or something like that. To me, this was display of unnecessary and excessive unsportsmanlike activity, right? Like this is not becoming of a professional soccer player. Yeah, if you want to like maybe F-bomb one person once and then just walk away, okay, I get that. But this was, okay, swipe at him. Okay, fine. I could buy that. But then while somebody's on the ground, you're taunting him multiple times for like a total of like 15 seconds, and then you push him. Like it wasn't like a little love tap. I mean, you actually gave him a nice little shove. That's excessive.
Would that not just be a yellow though? Because, I agree. I do think a yellow should have been assigned. I do think at minimum yellow should have been assigned for just the aggregate of all of the things. I tried finding instances in where a player was given a red card for punching, and I could find a few. Zlatan cold clocked the guy, and there was pretty much everything I found involving a fist, involving that was overly dramatic, punching in the face, punching in the back of the head, and I still am not sure that he hit him, that he punched him. He clearly he get his timeout drop. He was trying to push him away. However, what I'll say is this. If we know Chicho is a dirty guy, we know he's a dirty guy. We have to plan ahead for that. If the league allows him to play dirty because of his status, we have to be ready for that. And I think Tottenham did a fine job acting. Tottenham did a fine job. He punched him, he punched in the chest. I don't know if he acted like he was getting shot, whatever. He did a good job acting, and I think that's what pissed off Chicho, and that's what got him over him, wagging his finger at him. That should have been yellow. Taunting, give him a yellow, get him out. Or just give him a yellow.
So let me ask you this, though. Do you think it's different? Because obviously the center ref did not card him, and then VAR looked at it. Do you think it's different? Do you think it's different if the center ref had called it initially versus if VAR looked at it after the fact? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
like if he had carded him and red carded him right then and there, do you think it should stand because it was somewhat borderline? Or
well, if the call was red, I'm gonna accept it as a fan. However, the call wasn't made. VAR stopped him and said, "We're gonna look at this," and it was still his call. It was still his call to make the call or not. I don't think he ever went. Did he ever go to the video? So he never even went to the video. Like he saw it, and the VAR probably explained to him what they were seeing, and he was. We don't know what their conversation was, but he was probably like, "Is it indisputable from the no call on the field?" And they could not convince him to even go to the screen. Now this is a regular ref. We were begging for the refs to come back. This is a man who just reffed the biggest CONCACAF game just last week, and he's one of the most respected refs in the league. Like, honestly, when I saw that we got him, I was like, yeah. And I actually checked. Uncle wasn't anywhere on the lineups yesterday for a game. So I was wanting to see which poor game got that scumbag, but no one got him. So with those combination of things, I have to expect that guy knew what he was seeing. As a city guy, it does not without what Parker did. Of course, people were bitching and moaning. If that was Parker that did that, he'd get the call. Well, probably is Parker one of the most sought after people in the entire MLS? Unfortunately not. When you get to that status, you get those calls. In pitching, in baseball, the best pitchers get the strikes.
That's true.
You got to outplay him. I tell you what, if Blong would have been there, that first goal ain't going in. And if the defense would have been playing, that third goal wasn't going in. So,
what would be really interesting is to see what any listener thinks about why I'm right. Just kidding.
Why I'm right, because it wasn't a red. It wasn't a red card.
Go ahead.
If you think it is, sorry guys, it was a red card. I get it, you're emotional, but
Steve has spoken.
I have, and mark it down, something like that. I'll give you a yellow card.
Oof, ouch. At least it's not a red. So speaking of controversy, he's going to red card me here. So speaking of controversy, the handball call, right? So anybody who didn't see this, basically it was Totland, right? Or was it Durkin? I can't remember.
It's Durkin.
I think it was Totland. Durkin?
Or was it Parker? Then Durkin.
So basically, it seems like the handball call was on Durkin, and the ball hit off of his thigh, went up and hit his extended, basically tricep, it looked like. And on the field, they called that handball. And then on video review, they basically confirmed it. Unfortunately. What do you think? So now, yes, it is true. His arm was extended, right? But should that have been a handball in your opinion?
I mean, so it's a stupid rule. It's a rule that shouldn't be.
Everybody agrees.
It was a handball. If it's going to be called, it's going to be called every time. Especially people now in St. Louis are keyed up on the fact that we're always going to get those calls. And I think that it's because we play so tight in the press. We're always in the box. We're always in there. We're going to have probably more handballs called against us due to proximity, due to the fact that we're in there more. We're going to have more. There was a game earlier this year where I think it was an Atlanta player. Some poor schmuck had his arms up, signaling to another player for a ball, and the damn ball was kicked at him, and it hit him in the arm. And it was just the worst possible thing to happen. But because of that momentary lapse of judgment, he forgot where he was. He got a handball call, and it cost his team the game because they got a penalty kick out of it. Now, the funny thing is, Parker was going down in his hand. That's never going to be called because that's a natural thing. He's got to protect himself. But if you watch a lot of games, including the city, where as soon as the players see a ball when they're in the box, their arms are going right behind them. Now, Durkin was trying to get wide. He was trying to do something, but my man put his hands up. What are you going to do? And it hits him. If the rule is anything over your shoulder is a handball, well, guess what? It hit him not on his body. So, to me, that's got to be a handball. If it was on RSL, we would want that to be a handball.
Yeah, it's tough, though, because, the spirit, soccer always talks about the spirit of the law, right?
Right.
The spirit of the law is when you're trying to make yourself big and you're trying to use your hands or arms to basically play defense, right? In this case, it hit his thigh and then bounced straight up to his arm. There is no way he was doing anything to play defense, right? He wasn't trying to make himself bigger or anything like that. That's the only reason why I would sit there and be like, that's a crap call. Now, I agree with you. By the written word, right? If this was RSL that had this happen, of course I would want to see a handball. But what is a player supposed to do? I
agree. But so let's say we're watching football and a punt return guy was running to the ball and he's backed up. The ball took a weird bounce, bounced off his leg and rolled away. That's a live ball now. He didn't do anything wrong. He didn't touch the ball. Probably wasn't even going for it. But because it touched his body, because now it's a live ball, it can be a turnover. And unfortunately, it's the same thing. It sucks because we were tied at the moment, and then it led to us being down, and then it eventually led to some other things. It sucks to have a penalty against us, but I think you could almost say the call against DC last week, where Celio was tackled from behind accidentally. It barely touched him. It was barely inside the box, and it was called for a PK, and that's what got Klaus's goal. You could easily say that was definitely not a shooting penalty. Definitely not. But we got it. Klaus got it, and we got the draw. But it felt good then, So what's good for the goose has got to be good for the gander. So it just sucked. I can say it sucked.
Now, that all being said, right? Yeah, it sucks that was handball. And I think we both agree that I guess if we follow the letter of the law, right, as it's written, then it's definitely handball. Spirit of the law, I don't know, right? But definitely the letter of the law. Now, the problem is,
I was going to say, with as many as handball problems as we saw last year in MLS, not just on City, but we saw a lot of calls that were like questionable handballs. You figure they probably the league probably looks at this rule every single off season, and so far they're not making a big change. So they're clearly okay with the amount of calls, the controversy behind the calls, the fact that they can stand behind them. So, right. Real quick. So the Post-Dispatch posted a thing. Yarrow commented on the handball. You want to hear it? What he said?
Oh yeah.
He said the explanation we got in the preseason, if that explanation is right, it would have been a different call, but I don't control the refs. So, pro professional. So according to Yarrow, like if the refs were calling it the way that the players were trained by, I guess, the refs earlier in the season, that would not have been a handball the way it was shown. Like you said, he was trying to make it so bigger. It was almost a natural position with his arms. It wouldn't have been a handball. So clearly the players are a little frustrated, and it could have been maybe Fisher was a little off. You know, he hasn't done the MLS side, and maybe it was just a bad call. You know, people make bad calls, but hopefully those bad calls are less impactful. So, all right.
Now, speaking of change, April 20th, I heard, and I don't have like strong confirmation, but the rumors April 20th is when the new time wasting rules are supposed to go into play. That's where if you get injured for longer than 15 seconds, that's not on a yellow or red card.
Oh, man.
You have to come out for 2 minutes. Yeah. So your team's playing down for 10 minutes. And what's the other one? Oh, coming off the field, right?
Yeah, subs coming off. 10 seconds.
Yeah. Oh, that's going to be nice. So I think
we agree.
Yeah. I think you would probably agree that, yes, we had this controversial red card call, and then we also had this handball call. But ultimately, our team didn't play where they should have been played.
I agree. Yeah. Unfortunately, like those calls did not cost us the game.
Agreed.
Those calls did not cost us the game. It cost us a goal for the handball. It probably caused Chicho and the whole damn team to really play angry at that point. So, especially with the complaining about the call, the no call, it probably fired him up, which one of the best strikers in the league don't draw his ire. Don't draw his ire. Go after Luna. He's like 3 feet tall. You know, bury him in the ground. Not their DP. Not that guy. Not that guy.
Right. So apparently last week I cursed our team, and this week Steve came up with a lineup. Yeah.
Oh, one thing that I want to say about the rule about coming off. One thing I noted that when our guys were going off, when Indy was going off, when someone else was going off, the ref was talking to them as they were coming off, and then the assistant refs were talking to them, and the Apple announcers were saying it's a concerted effort to get it into these players' heads that they have to get off the field quicker. They weren't calling or anything, and it was kind of jovial, but it was like, you got to hurry up, guys, because in a couple weeks, it's going to, I don't know what the penalty is going to be, but like it's going to hurt your team, and get off now. When our player was injured, he came off the field. I think it was blown, and we were down until he came back. But like Chicho, he rolled around. He did some acting. I remember he got. I think it might have been Dirk, and ran into him hard and hip checked him, and Chicho really laid it on, and nothing would happen. And then I kind of simmered down their team, and then he went down and scored again. But like, if once these rules kick in, that's going to be big. I think a lot of fans did think that it would be an immediate turnaround. And I started hearing this past Tuesday, I started hearing that the refs were saying like they won't be able to initiate all those changes because those are game affecting changes, like announcing the time and putting the stoppage time on in the stadium. That's something they can do right away. And some of those other small stuff, but these game-changing ones are going to take some time, and I'm glad they're taking their time. Let the players kind of get used to it. All right, so you want my mess?
Yeah. So, like I said, I had last week my lineup. Now it's your turn to hopefully not curse the team. Good luck.
Last week, AJ, challenged me to ask me for a lineup, and I'm like, I have never ever done this, and I actually spent a little bit of time this morning looking at it, kind of thinking about what we want to do against Dallas, which they're really bad too right now, and so we can affect them. So I personally really dig this 4-2-3-1. I thought it was pretty good. I liked seeing the Klaus getting fed, so I changed it up just a tad. And I did see that I told Fatmop that Leuven and Nilsson are both middle April is what they're being predicted right now. So that means like what, the end of May? Like that's pretty much what that means. It's the old hockey lower body injury kind of stuff going on with Carnell. All right. So I really like this 4-2-3-1 only because with the 4-4-2, you can't put Klaus next to Big Sam. They're the same person. You can't do it. So I really dug this back line for this last week. So I've got Totlin, Yarrow, Parker, and Dewar. I've got, unfortunately, we got to kind of stick with the date we brought to the dance, and so I've got Durkin and Bloom again because
Durkin's awesome though.
Mostly because of the fact that we need to get him time. Durkin because we gave up the farm to get him. Like we gotta either burn him out or let him shine because we gave up Scary Jerry for him, and what's the other guy we gave up, the guy that actually came up on from the practice squad, and we gave him a spot, whatever. Anyway, and we give a lot of games. So like he's cost us some money. He cost us, so we got to play this cat. So for the next one, the three, I got Indy, Thorson, and Celio. I want those guys feeding the ball up there to our man on the top, which is Klaus again. Now, I know it's going to aggravate a lot of people because for whatever reason, Klaus is being like treated as though he doesn't know what he's doing anymore. Like all of a sudden he's never played this game, but like he's still our number one. He's still it. And we got to keep getting the ball. He had some pretty decent shots last night, I felt. So that's what I've got. I've got Tylen, Yarrow, Parker, Dewar, Durkin, Bloom, Indy, Thor, Celio, and Klaus. Now, only because I feel also AZ is being exposed. AZ needs to kind of come back down to that super sub kind of a situation. Let that violent kind of play he does, running around, bobbing around, be a good sub. So what you got?
Man, I like it. I agree with AZ, by the way, and I think most fans also agree. He just doesn't really contribute much to the play into the box.
Yes, like that's what
sometimes he can go around players and he can dribble quite well, but he just doesn't make good passes. It doesn't seem like he has good awareness, honestly. I like your lineup. I would have it almost identical, but there was somebody on Reddit that actually posted a really good idea, and that's actually have Indy as kind of the number 10. So where you put Thorson and then put Alm on the right wing.
Yeah.
And I was like, I actually kind of like that, Indy does seem like he has good awareness of the game, which you kind of want in that kind of number 10, kind of center midfielder there. I kind of like it, actually. What do you think about that?
No, I dig it too. I try to justify putting Alm in, but who was I going to take out? And
True.
That was kind of what I struggled with. But yeah, at this point, like, we have good players. I think that's people are getting lost in the fact that we've only won one game. We've got a lot of great players, and I think it's a situation where it's like we're trying to find a place to put all of them because we're missing our two best defenders essentially right now, and because of that, we're having to move parts around. So that's kind of, I'm just looking over the City 2 lineup to see if there's anyone we could poach from there right now. They won today against KC2, and it was pretty good. I did see that. I saw Kojima's back on our lineup, so it's like we're gonna try to put him in, but it's like, man, we can't start this guy. Like, he did good against that CONCACAF game, but let's let him eat a little bit. So
yeah, and speaking of which, we were kind of talking about overreaction. Now we're both around 40 years old. I know we're kind of getting old here, but Steve was kind of talking about the '90s Cardinals, right? Into the '80s as well.
Losing does stink. Let's be honest. It doesn't feel good to lose. And I commented to AJ that I have the luxury of no longer being in my super hot, passionate fan phase. I was there in my 20s. I sobbed in my basement in that 2005 NLCS when we finally lost. That was ecstatic the night before when our Pujols broke Bradledge. But the very next night, it was the worst feeling I ever had. And I told myself that I'm never doing this again. So, I guess I'm a little jaded, but, we are only in this league for the second year. And we should win every single game by 7 points? It doesn't make sense to get apoplectic when we finally lose a match in a season in which we've been competitive in every single game.
Dude, we're 5.
I see comments about, is Carnell on the hot seat? Shut up. Carnell's not on the hot seat. Is it time to get rid of? Everyone's a bum. Everyone's a bum right now. And it's just calm down. Just calm down. We're not playing this game. We could not play this game. We could not coach this game. We could not put together a team in this game. So if I am not that person who could do all those things, I'm just going to sit back and enjoy it. Now, will this, if the team continues to lose, will it cause some fair weather fans to want to sell their chickens to a lower price so maybe a cat like me can afford to go to a game? Sure. Great. But I'm still going to go, and I'm going to be appreciative of the fact that we now have a team. I have all this swag all around me because of this team. Because of this team, we have a podcast that we're doing right now. So why would I try to chase this team out on a rail because they lost one game? And they got beat by, they didn't get beat by this Chicho. They didn't get beat by the refs. They got beat by themselves. 13 minutes of stoppage time, AJ. 13 minutes at any time. Something else. There's only 2 shots in the whole stoppage time. What were we doing? And it's so it's good to critique the team. Sure. They lost. But you know what? We get up in the morning, we're fine. I think, I was telling my kids, and tell me to stop anytime because I talk. Yeah, that's what I do.
Well, that's perfect for podcast hosts.
I think so. When I think people our age, we look at sports from our father's memory, or we look at the NFL films and we see those players on the sideline and they lose the Super Bowl, they lose the championship game, sobbing. They are literally sobbing, and they're so sad because that next game was their paycheck. Those guys weren't millionaires. They had to keep playing. Now when you look at these players, when they lose a match, watch them. Watch their body language. When they even lose a Super Bowl, when they lose the World Series, when they lose in the MLS playoffs like we did last year, watch their body language. These guys are fine. These guys don't care. They're all millionaires playing a game. So if the guys that are playing, if they're not losing their minds anymore, why should I? When that game was over, I went, I guess I stayed up late for nothing. But it was I still got to experience a thing with my daughter, and my wife was there with me watching it, and I got to talk with my sons when they got home from their friend's house about the game. So it still gave me something to talk about. I don't have to let it ruin my night, and I won't anymore. That's my thoughts.
And let's face the facts. Like I said a second ago, we're still a 500 team, right?
Yes.
1 win, 1 loss, and four ties, right? Okay, that's not bad, right? Come on, that's 500. Yes, I get, with the draws, right? Yes, it would be better to be 4 wins or 3 wins and 3 losses. I get that, right? That's still not bad. A 500 team, I'll take that any day of the week, right?
Right.
You're only 20%, not even 20% of the way through the schedule. We still have 4/5 of the schedule left. This is
long summer, guys.
Way too soon. And we don't even have one of our designated players, Lubin. Come on, right? Now, the other thing that fans are saying is oh, we just need to spend to get another designated player. Okay, that's great. I agree. Like every fan always wants a better player, but so does every single club in the entire world, right? This isn't
Except
like
Colorado.
American football. Well, except Colorado. Unlike American football, which we pretty much only draw from just the U.S., right? Like we're competing with every single club in the world, right? I mean, I don't think we should just rush out and get designated player just because fans are upset. When we find the right one, I'm going to be super excited, and then that's when we get that person, right?
Right.
And then practically, if you want to look at it this way too, when Lubin does come back, that's almost as if we got a designated
We
player.
just got a new DP. Right.
Exactly. And that, and I don't care what people say. Yes, he did lose his ability with his set pieces, but that guy still has some amazing moves out there. Watch him in the midfield. Watch how much better we are with him out there. It's night and day. Yes, he does have some bad games, but man, he lights up that midfield.
He was amazing in the last game before he got hurt. And that's why I think his absence hurts so much right now, because like he struggled the first couple games, and then he really came on, and then I think it's his hamstring. Like you need that to run. But like he got hurt, but like he did really well. And you know, it's a fascinating game. And I'm so glad to have it. You know, it's fun to be passionate, but like be realistic, I guess, is my thought too.
And the other thing is like I said, this is you kind of said, we're 2 years in, right? But you don't just automatically start with a great team, right? We basically drafted from the bottom mid-tier from every team. You know what I mean? And got a couple designated players, and then we called it a team. It's not like we built this up over time, right? Like it takes time, you know? Speaking of really cool players, you said you had a really cool story for us about Indy.
Yes. Okay.
Let's hear this.
I said my daughter's plays for the City Futures, which again, I think I mentioned it before. If you have children up until from like 5 until 12 and they play anywhere and you live within the St. Louis region and they're interested in soccer, sign them up for the City Futures. And they're not paying me. I wish they paid me, but they're not. But I found this out last year, just accidentally. And it is a 12-week training program where St. Louis City hires people and they train them how to coach kids. And they have all these youths running around these soccer fields, playing games, learning the sport. My daughter plays in our local rec here in their town, but she loves it. And, you know, I mentioned in the past how some of the players have come out, but yesterday or Thursday, she was playing, and Wednesday or Thursday, and her coach stopped all the kids, and she's 9. And he said, "Hey guys, come over here." And they all huddled up, and it's their little 9-year-old group. And he said, "I got something cool to show you." Indy Vasilev recorded a video for the kids in which he spent 2 minutes coaching these kids about what to do if they get caught with the ball, if they're open, if they're on one side or the other. And it was an amazing thing. And I didn't even know about it until the next day. I was taking my daughter to Six Flags, and she's like, and she just saw it. He goes, "Indy recorded it." Like, wait, what? And yeah, he recorded a video for these kids, coaching them. She got free coaching from a professional, in a sport. She got free coaching, and then the guy went and scored the next day.
That's awesome.
She said, "That's what he told us to do," and I stood up screaming, "That's the guy that coached you!" Like, he took time out of his day to record a video for a bunch of kids he'll never see, and he'll never know how much they appreciate his words and his weird curly mustache. Which, by the way, you notice when he scores, he starts it up. It's cute.
I love it. Like, I love it.
And I keep saying these are all young men in their 20s, and they are spending their time, they're spending their efforts with the kids, and that's cool. They're still kids at heart. When Silvio came out and he played at the opening of the mini pitch with my daughter, with all these kids, like him and Hebert, they had a blast, and it was so fun and so cool. And we get to experience that in the city now. And like that was my story. Like, she totally was like, "Oh, by the way, Indy recorded a video for us." I was like, wait, pause. And she would not have, if she didn't think about that at that exact moment, she would have forgotten about it. But like, he did that for them. And so that was my cool little story.
That's awesome. So we got about 30 seconds here. You wanted to kind of mention about the U.S.-Mexico game.
Yeah, so I got this this scarf I bought from the World Cup, and man, that was a match. I don't remember every aspect of it, but seeing those goals that our guy shot, it just were lasers, and it was a gut wrenching thing for Mexico. And when I saw it was in Mexico, I felt really nervous because of those scumbag fans, what they're capable of doing.
Trash fans.
And sure enough, towards the end of the game, 5 minutes left, they started with those homophobic chants and caused the game to be paused. And towards the end, I saw that Fisher just had enough of it, and he just started the match. He's like, we got to go. And the match was over. It was out of hand, and we wound up winning. But the USA team won a pretty cool championship and hang our head on that. And a podcast I was listening to, they were still questioning whether the head coach should be fired or not. And like, they just won a thing. Like, this is kind of what you and I were just talking about, was let someone enjoy a thing for 2 minutes, please. And so I really liked that match. Did you get a chance to see it?
Oh, yeah. I enjoyed it. And honestly, it sucks when those trash fans ruin the end of the game.
Yeah.
Steve brought up the point, like basically you're giving these fans control, because when you stop the game because of the fans, you're letting the fans impact what is happening on the field. They need to do something much more serious. They need to sanction them. They need to take some of the World Cup games away. They need to do something real, because if you let them continue to control what's going on in the field, they're going to keep doing that. And that's honestly the shame in all this.
All right. Because, you and I were talking, I saw that in a different match, the Mexican side was down late in the game, and they were getting gassed, and their fans started that chant, and it took almost 10 minutes for them to get under control, and that gave the Mexican side kind of the time to kind of regroup. It was like a big long timeout, and they came back and they were able to charge up and win that match. And it's like, that's awful. That's really bad. Just to use that as a cudgel to get your team. That's what your pathetic team needs to win now. Okay, I got you, bud.
Well, it looks like we're approaching the end of this session here.
Right. Real quick. So the Post-Dispatch posted a thing. Yarrow commented on the handball. You want to hear it? What he said?
Oh, yeah.
He said, the explanation we got in the preseason, if that explanation is right, it would have been a different call, but I don't control the refs. So, pro professional. So according to Yarrow, like, if the refs were calling it the way that the players were trained by, I guess, the refs earlier in the season, that would not have been a handball the way it was shown. Like you said, he was trying to make it so bigger. It was almost a natural position with his arms. It wouldn't have been a handball. So clearly the players are a little frustrated, and it could have been maybe Fisher was a little off. He hasn't done the MLS side, and maybe it was just a bad call. People make bad calls. But hopefully those bad calls are less impactful. So, all right. Just wanted to get that out. I saw that and I wanted to share that real quick.
Yeah, man. Well, like I said, if you've made it this far with us, 30 minutes in, I would say definitely drop us a line. If you would like to join us, feel free to reach out to Big Daddy Teacher or Karate134 or hit us up on Twitter. Like, there's 1,000 ways. We would love to have you and debate over red cards and handballs and all sorts of things, lineups.
Heck yeah.
And maybe you could beat us. Who knows?
Yeah. So Dallas is coming to town. Go City.
Go City.
Hopefully we'll beat them up. Score a couple of goals against them. So right now we're in 10th place with 7 points. Dallas is all the way down in 12 with 3 points. 3 points. Don't let these clowns come into our house and pick up 3 easy points. Which, by the way, did you see Seattle? You see where they are on the table?
No.
16th or 14th. They have 2 points. 2 points. The feared Sounders are only 2. They only have 2 points. So it'll be interesting to watch them. We discussed Sporting KC started really low last year, and they kind of went revving up. So that's a team where I don't expect them. Like San Jose is technically above them in the standings right now, and that's bad. But they're going, as the kids say, they're going to get it turned around. But like we're tied for like fifth place, and so we're 10th in the standings. But we'll check it out. If you want to see the standings, go on Reddit. You'll see the beautiful fridge table just for you guys.
Well, we'll catch you guys next time. Till then, go City.
All for City.